We drive over them every single day. We place our trust in tons of concrete and steel without a second thought. But what if it's all built on dangerously outdated ideas?
Well, this is what happens when that trust is shattered. In the early morning hours of January 17, 1995, a massive earthquake rips through the city of Kobe, and this modern, elevated expressway, it just falls over. This single image became a massive wake-up call for the entire world.
And it brings up a really unsettling question, doesn't it? Could the bridges in our own cities, the ones you and I commute on every single day, be harboring the exact same fatal flaws? Were they designed and built before we really truly understood the power of the earth moving beneath our feet? See, the thing is, our understanding of earthquakes has changed dramatically. For decades, we built bridges with almost no thought given to seismic demand. The 1971 San Fernando quake was kind of the first alarm bell, and it kicked off the first retrofit programs. But Kobe in '95? Whoa, that was a global wake-up call. It showed just how vulnerable we all still were. And here's the crucial part. Thousands of these older bridges are still in service today.
So let's zoom in on that one single event that completely rewrote the rules for how we build bridges, the Great Hanshin Earthquake of 1995. The sheer scale of the failure was just staggering. In one section of the highway alone, a continuous stretch of over 600 meters, we're talking more than 6 football fields laid end to end, just toppled over. You can bet that engineers from all over the world descended on that rubble, determined to figure out why.
So, what was the first big lesson they learned from all that wreckage? It really came down to a simple principle: weight. The original design you see on the left was incredibly heavy, and in an earthquake, mass is your worst enemy. So the rebuilt design used a much lighter steel box girder, which dramatically reduced the amount of force the bridge had to deal with. And here's the result. The rebuilt expressway wasn't just lighter, it was engineered with a whole new philosophy of being flexible and resilient. It's a really powerful example of learning from failure. Now, the second key innovation was truly a game changer. Instead of connecting the piers directly to the foundation, engineers put in something called base isolators. Just think of them as giant shock absorbers for the whole bridge. They allow the ground to shake violently underneath, while the structure on top stays relatively calm. This was a world first for a major road bridge. Okay, so armed with all these lessons, how exactly do engineers go about making an old bridge stronger? It really comes down to a few core principles. And maybe the most important principle is this one word: ductility. It's basically the opposite of being brittle. A brittle structure, like a dry twig, just snaps under pressure. But a ductile structure can bend, it can deform, it can absorb a huge amount of energy without a catastrophic failure. The scary thing is, most bridges built before the 1970s just didn't have this essential quality. So how do you add ductility to a structure that's already standing? Well, take a look at this X-ray of a concrete column. The original design, on the left, had its steel reinforcement hoops spaced pretty far apart, which let the concrete crumble under pressure. The retrofit is simple but brilliant. You triple the amount of steel by tightening that spacing. It creates a much stronger internal skeleton that just holds everything together. Another incredibly effective technique is to basically give the column a steel corset. A steel jacket is literally wrapped around the outside of the existing column, and then the gap is filled with grout. This provides an immense amount of confinement and strength, and it physically prevents the column from bursting outwards during an earthquake.
But look, a bridge is a complex system, and it's only as strong as its weakest link. Retrofitting isn't just about the main columns, it's about every single connection.
A huge point of failure is the abutment. That's the spot where the bridge meets the land. During a quake, the ground can literally pull away, leaving the end of the bridge with nothing to stand on. It's a massive vulnerability.
The fixes for this are actually quite clever. Engineers can install waffle slabs on piles to create more friction with the soil. Or they can anchor the abutment deep into the embankment with something called a deadman anchor, which is essentially a huge buried weight that holds the bridge in place and stops it from getting pulled away. And that detailed work continues everywhere. Steel knee braces get added to stop the big beams from twisting. Restrainers are installed on bearings to act like seat belts, preventing the road deck from literally sliding off its supports. And steel cables are used to tie sections together, limiting how far they can separate while still allowing for normal expansion and contraction from the heat. And this isn't just a story about bridges. It's really a story about all of our aging infrastructure. Tunnels, roads, and buildings all need this constant cycle of detection, evaluation, and upgrading just to keep us all safe.
So, what does all of this engineering and all this hard-won innovation add up to? It's about more than just stronger bridges. It's about building a more resilient society.
There's this quote from the source material that just gets to the heart of good engineering. It says, "The best retrofit measures are simple, easy to construct, inexpensive, and dependable." And that right there is the key takeaway. Resilience isn't something you build once and then just forget about. It's an ongoing commitment. It's the constant, intelligent, and often invisible work of engineers upgrading the vast network of infrastructure that we all depend on. Which leaves us with one final thought. Think about the bridges you cross today. They carry thousands of lives, including yours. Do you know when they were built? Do you know what's been done to make them ready for the unexpected? That hidden engineering, that's what keeps our world moving.